Now recording.
I wish they would record that part. Where he says,
It doesn't record it on the recording.
No,
No,
Damn. Not yet.
Okay, jump into your conspiracy theory.
Okay, so I've been getting very conspiratorial about Sam Altman of OpenAI. I think dude is a sick freak, a sick freak, and
What
I don't
makes
like
you
it.
say that?
And let me preface this by saying, ChatGPT is so sick, and I use it all the time. And I don't like any other of the big CEOs of these dumbass social media companies. I hate them. I think they're evil. You know, put them on trial. But this Sam Altman guy really freaks me out. I was reading the failing New York Times, and they had this profile of him, and I was like, oh, okay, I should read this. You know, OpenAI, I use their product all the time. I'd like to know who the CEO is. And it's this guy, Sam Altman, who worked for Y Combinator for a while. And he's like this like mysterious billionaire. No one knows how much money he actually has because he was like an investor in a bunch of big companies. And he does not take a paycheck from OpenAI. He takes like the minimum. He makes like $65K just so that he can legally have health insurance from OpenAI. But he does it just as one of his friends in the article puts it, because he likes power.
What?
Yeah. He literally is the CEO of what will probably be like the most consequential AI company of the year and maybe the decade, who knows. And he's literally just there to be more powerful and be like this international power broker. Like literally, like his friends, his best friends are saying this. And he is like, I don't know. I don't think he would deny it. And
that's true alpha energy, you know.
No, true, he is an alpha.
Does he have the alpha pheromones?
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, I was okay. Yeah,
I don't understand the reasoning there. You want less money?
Yeah, no. Yeah, yes, no. Okay, here's the sick freakishness. So at the end of the article, Sam Altman starts waxing poetic about how he thinks that the goal of OpenAI is to soak up, quote, much of the world's GDP when they unveil their artificial general intelligence, which I guess ChatGPT is a part of, and GPT-4 is probably an even bigger part of. So he wants OpenAI to soak up, quote, much of the world's GDP, trillions to hundreds of trillions of dollars. And then he said in the article in the New York Times that he thinks that the AI will be able to figure out what to do with that money. And I read that and I was like, okay, crazy, you fucking freak. And I started Googling around for him. To be fair, I'm going to lay it all out there. The first thing I Googled was Sam Altman CIA.
And was he?
Well, what I found was
I found a Kiwi Farms forum, and they were really talking some sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. So Sam Altman is invested in all this weird stuff. He's invested in like a hypersonic airplane company, but he's also invested in this thing called WorldCoin, which is a dumbass crypto project where their whole shtick is that in exchange for people in developing nations giving them iris scan biometric data, these people will be provided with a world coin, the dumbass coin, UBI, Universal Basic Income, in exchange for their biometric data.
Sign me up. Sounds good.
Yeah, you texted me about that, and when I looked it up, it said they were doing all their testing and like rollouts in like India and like sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, it's fucked, dude. And they are keeping 20% of the supply of WorldCoin. And like, it seems to me, like you were saying this, Peter, it seems to me that like the point of this is to like control all of these like people who are not doing too hot, control them and their nations outside of government control in this like, you know, it's like some idiot in Silicon Valley just deciding like, hey, I'd like to be, you know, by all like ways and means, for all intents and purposes, I'd like to be like the Grand Master God Emperor of all of sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, like I'm to have like personal control over like Kenya's economy.
Dude, what a sick freak! Like what kind of guy is sitting there and like, you know, this is cool. This is
he's an idea. Austin Powers villain.
Yeah, he's
Dr. Evil.
He's literally an Austin Powers.
We're gonna take over the world.
Is there like any like big volcano in Silicon Valley that he resides inside of?
Yeah. Does he live behind the Hollywood sign?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Wait 1 second. My wife just delivered me some food.
Oh, whoa.
In a
How do we
beautiful-
wait? I know about DoorDash, but what is wife delivery?
That
How does
place is
that work?
Yeah. Yeah, this is like
Floating by
DoorDash,
the
but like
stage.
It's the Colombian version of DoorDash.
Oh, that's sick. I can't wait for it to go to the continental US though. That sounds awesome.
No, it's here.
In the lower
is-
48?
Damn.
I'd like to.
It's a pretty big time investment though.
Yeah, true.
You have to actually get a wife.
Yeah, but if you min max it right, it works out.
It's actually entirely based on August's wife. She just flies to different cities across the country.
Oh,
Yeah, she's kind of like a Sam Altman character where she hopes to control, quote, much of the world's hunger.
yeah. By being the only person who can supply food.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing my wife just told me was theme song.
Shouts out to the Motion Pixel Podcast. Yeah, I do know Lil B. I think I know the bass guy as well. Shout out Matthew Meyer and Andrew Rollins.
Shout out to Uncle Dane. He is also a member of this podcast.
Let's get it. Shout out everybody playing baseball.
Oh, why'd she say that?
Did she have to remind you?
Yeah, she said it in Spanish.
You should probably introduce me at some point too.
Who?
Oh no! Actually, I've been here the whole time. I've been in every episode. I just have the lens cap on in earlier episodes.
Oh, you know what I was thinking? I thought you were saying you're gonna have to introduce me to your wife at some point.
Oh,
And I was
no,
like,
no, I'm
why
not
do you
his
want
wife.
to?
It's that
Like,
Aerosmith
you want-
energy.
You're
Yeah.
like, yeah. Can you get your wife back? I kind of want to meet her over Discord in the middle of the podcast.
No, I will say.
Introduce me as a guest on the show that's been recorded for 20 minutes.
Yeah, nobody
well-
gives a fuck about that.
The first
Okay.
thing, the
No,
first
I'm
thing I
just
told Peter was like, "Hey, so are there any like ground rules for this podcast?" And I was like, "You will speak when spoken to."
Oh wow, I didn't know that was a ground rule. I've been breaking it the entire time.
No, it doesn't apply to you. It
I just speak
applies-
whenever.
Yeah, I was kidding. It was a joke. You can speak whenever you want to. You can speak when spoken to. If you want to, you can speak when spoken to.
Do I,
I guess-
have to speak when spoken to?
You don't have to speak
you
at all
don't.
if you don't want.
Yeah,
you
you
can
don't
just
have
sit
to.
here.
Best guest of all time.
I didn't know
Okay.
that was an option too. I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Yeah, you can if you want, or you cannot. But like Sam Altman, I'm like pretty. I'm just kind of like a laid back dude with like. There's nothing going on behind the scenes with me. I'm just taking the minimum paycheck for this podcast.
No
The
connections to the intelligence community at all.
That's the thing I like about Sam Altman is the fact that he has no connections to the intelligence community whatsoever. Yeah. So what do you guys think of the Sam Altman thing? What do you think of my conspiracy theories?
I mean, it sounds concerning on like that weird level of like futurism that is always associated with like the Blade Runner idea of like what the world will look like, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine anything like that becoming reality. Like what's the word for it where it's just like, dystopian. It's hard to
Dystopian,
imagine.
yeah. Cyberpunk.
Hard to imagine like a real dystopian like future. You know what I mean? I think for the most part, at least in America, most of the things that the citizens are subjected to will more or less be like of their own free will. You know what I mean?
True.
And whether you consider people submitting their biometric data in exchange for money to be like dystopian or just how the world will eventually go is kind of up to interpretation and like opinion, you know what I mean? But if most people are okay with it, then it will become the new normal, And I don't know, morals are subjective to the time period in which people exist, so whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I just think it's fucked that he's starting with like these people who, I don't know, seem like they're not in. It's like, yes, they have the quote unquote choice to make this decision, but like, do they really? Are these people who are?
Yeah, it's like hyper coercive.
Yeah,
Sure, but I mean, like, you have the
direct support.
choice to like participate in the internet but do you really? Like, I mean, you kind of have to in order to exist in modern society.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like starting with people in like developing nations who like maybe don't even have a firm grasp on what biometric data even is and what it implies.
I mean, I don't.
Oh well, I have a really cool coin to sell you in exchange for just a simple iris scan.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what can you actually explain to me and the folks at home what would be the actual implications of submitting my iris scan data to anybody?
Okay, well, here, full disclosure, Sam Altman has come out and said that the iris scans are immediately deleted by his company, and the hash is saved.
Sure.
Meaning like you basically, I don't know. Do you know what a hash is, Dane?
Yeah, it's something you smoke to get high. Just kidding. What is it?
It's basically like you take anything that can be represented in digital data and you run it through like a function. Like you take all of the bits in that thing and you convert them to something else to kind of scramble what was originally there. But it's scrambled in a consistent way where if you run that same original thing through that function again, it will produce the same hash, and thus you can like tie future things to that original thing, but in like an encrypted way. It's like an encryption thing.
Oh, okay.
Meaning,
it's not an actual photo of an eyeball, but it's an encrypted version of the data that's associated with it. So it's kind of like unique in its own data way. Not unique in that they have my eyeball.
Yeah, they don't have your eyeball on file, but any future picture of your eyeball would correspond to that.
Yeah. They would be like, oh, it's kind of like a fingerprint being identifiable by just the pattern.
Yeah, exactly. I
understand.
Yeah. So full disclosure, the iris scans are allegedly being deleted, but hashed. So like anything that would happen in the future where those
it sounds more like that's the way to organize it convenience wise rather than security wise. Like the information is still information.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically still there. And to me,
yeah,
it seems like a way to just like stymie criticism, to say like, oh, we deleted it, guys. And like most people when they hear that would just think, oh, they deleted it, that's fine. But like upon
right, but like what is the concern? What is the concern that any company has access to your iris scan?
The concern is that biometric data can then be tied to, in the same way that like when your information is harvested, like would you like harvested by like a social media company? It's like the next level of that, but it's tied to a financial system that you may or may not be dependent on. So like you could get people hooked on this financial system, this WorldCoin thing, and then in the future you could decide like, oh well, people who do this kind of activity are no longer eligible for this thing, and then immediately it's just shut off because this company like knows exactly who you are and where your money is going to. It's like
I guess
it makes all your.
I guess traceable. That's only concerning if you really care about anyone seeing where your money goes. Do you care that a company knows where you're spending your money? And this is all part of like. And by the way, I'm not like pro companies harvesting data or anything like that. I just don't actually see the harm in it on an average consumer's level. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that like. Just them having the data isn't the problem. It's the fact that literally anything could happen in the future, where like there could be crackdowns on certain types of people. There could be different data tied to your biometric data and your spending habits in a way that's not available right now. Like,
well, here's my thing on all this too. I mean, the basic plan of WorldCoin is to give UBI to every single person on Earth, which would be like a vast amount of capital. And clearly he's been bankrolled to do this. Like Silicon Valley is giving him money to fund this thing. He must have like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in investment rounds. So people clearly see a way to profit on this investment. They see a way to make money on WorldCoin. So like the question for me, whenever that comes up, is where are they making their money? How is this profitable? Like, what do they get off the data?
And how can I get invested?
Yeah, how could I get into that? How do I get on the ground floor?
Yeah, how do I get in that shit, dude?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're asking a question at like at a shareholder meeting.
Yeah.
How are we making our money exactly? What's the plan? Well, Gus, you founded this company. How are we making the? Yeah, what's the 5-year turnout looking like?
So it's biometric data for hats and TF2.
Yeah, I'm in. No. I mean, this is all like interesting and stuff because like it is very much tied to like where the world is going as far as technology, because it's like you become more interconnected if we did have like a world currency, I suppose. But obviously, in the hands of somebody like this guy, it sounds like it's more like an evil villain plan.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is specifically that it's like this guy trying to create a global currency that is not controlled by a world government or like
a local government.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that idea. I don't really like governments, you know.
Oh, me neither. I hate the government, but
people who self kind of report themselves by saying I'm in this for the power, obviously, like that's not really much better than a government who won't come out and say it but is very much still in it for the same thing.
Yeah, dude. It's
also, I don't know, it's fucked. So, like, people who are in control of things naturally only really do it because they like being in control of things. You know what I mean? It's very hard to find somebody who is a leader who doesn't have that like mindset of like I get personal enjoyment out of like control, you know?
Well, no one else wants to do it.
Yeah, because nobody else really wants control. I mean, like a lot of people like having control of their own personal lives, but not very many people have the drive to be in control of like something as big as a country or like the world or something like that. So when these people come along, it does kind of seem concerning, but at the same time, it's like, who else is supposed to fucking do this stuff? Because like I know for a fact, like I don't have an interest in doing it because I don't really have that kind of mindset. And I think you kind of do have a little bit of an evil mindset in order to be a leader of anything. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's just the implication. I don't know.
My
name one world leader who is like egalitarian. You know what I mean?
And all I'm saying is that Bernie can still win.
Even Bernie, he's been in politics for his entire life. It's hard to, put a whole lot of trust in that.
Dude, that's another fun thing about this New York Times article about Sam Altman, which I encourage everyone to go and read. I encourage everyone to go steal that article and read it. He said that before he decided to found OpenAI or like pursue more investment in it or something like that, right. I forget if OpenAI was created yet, but he said that he like had like a powwow with his brothers, and he was like, I know that I can either change the world via politics or artificial intelligence. Which one should I do? And he came to the conclusion with his brothers that he could have more of an impact on the world through artificial intelligence. So like he's like min-maxing his power brokerage by thinking that like AI is just going to control the world more than politics in the future.
It's a bit of a gamble because politics is like, I mean, as far as having more of an impact on the world compared to OpenAI or AI or anything like that, like politics is like pretty much 1,000,000 to 1, but it could pay off.
Here's my thing too, though, is like, yeah, like all these people are more or less evil. They have evil mindsets, but this is also a case of like a guy in Silicon Valley putting himself in charge of like Indonesia's monetary system.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the fuck? It's just for the same reason why I hate when the United States goes to war in some random fucking country. It's like, that is literally not our country. Why are we having a war there? Like,
yeah, it's colonialist.
War is profitable,
Yeah, and it never changes.
But, I did hear that from Hellboy.
Yeah, I heard that from Hellboy as well.
From the critically acclaimed Marvel comic series, Hellboy.
But this is all to say that right now it's like cool to hate on Elon Musk. It's cool to hate on Zuck. But I'd like to stake my claim in saying that Sam Altman's a fucking freak, and like maybe that won't catch on for a few years. But I'm like putting my flag in the fact that
you're the Sam Altman hater hipster right now. But if he does actually see any success with his plan to become an evil genius leader, some sort of Dr. Evil fella, then yeah, I mean, you will have been on the ground floor. You will have been on the ground floor of it.
First guy to be executed.
I mean, he'll probably take the Elon Musk route of like, oh, he's actually epic for like changing the world for better, and then like he'll do one thing to like basically show that he's a human and fucking fucks things up all the time, and then people will be like, yeah, this guy actually isn't all he's cracked up to be. That's all it takes.
It is pretty funny to have lived through cognitionally like the rise and fall in the public psyche of Elon Musk, where like the early Reddit days were like, oh, he's so cool. He's freaking Iron Man. He's like Tony Stark. He's Tony Stank.
It is kind of embarrassing. It is kind of embarrassing to look back and think like, oh man, I actually did kind of think Elon Musk was cool, but I don't know. Looking at it now, it feels a little stupid. Like, oh, I thought he was cool because he like looked at Reddit sometimes and like was aware of memes. Like, I guess that is kind of interesting to see from like somebody his age and with that sort of influence, because you don't see people like Bill Gates doing that. But I don't know. It's also kind of lame. It's like boomer mentality.
Well, early on, his whole thing too is he was like environmentalist. It was like, oh yeah, I'm making electric cars. I'm making
true.
And that, like, to me, that was cool, but none of it ever went anywhere. None of it like ever changed anything about emissions or any other part of our environmental system.
Yeah,
but then he decided to dig a tunnel underneath LA and think it was going to solve traffic, and then we were like, oh,
yeah,
like
maybe the idea guy isn't so great at coming up with stuff.
Maybe some of them really fucking suck, huh?
Yeah, dude. I remember when I lived in Chicago, there was like this big press conference with Rahm Emanuel, our evil old mayor.
Is this like a running thing in Chicago?
That our mayors are like absurdly corrupted evil? Yes. And I'd like to take a personal moment of silence for our fallen hero, Lori Lightfoot. So I got a campaign text today from one of the other, I don't even know who else is running for mayor in Chicago. They were like, oh, I probably donated to something at some point, and I got a text from someone in Chicago that was like, do you plan to support this person, like Brandon Johnson or whatever the fuck the guy's name is? And it was like an automated text, but I just responded, I'm with Lori. And then they responded back and they were like, oh, well, Lori's not in the election anymore. Like, she didn't receive more than 50% of the vote or something like that. And I said, I will write in Lori. And then they just said, okay, thanks, bye.
Lori's not getting away from this shit. I'll pull her back in.
We need her, dude.
Get in there.
When the world needed her most, he disappeared. But yeah, I remember a press conference with Rahm Emanuel, who was Obama's chief of staff, who then left the White House to become the mayor of Chicago. But I just hated him because he closed down like all of the schools on the south and west sides of Chicago. Like I remember there was this one week in Chicago where he closed down like 11 schools on the south side of Chicago, which is like notoriously underfunded and like just in a really bad shape. And then that same week he presented like this gigantic like $1 million check to DePaul University to build their new school of theater on the north side. It's like, man, come on. But I remember a press conference where he was talking with Elon Musk on a podium and saying that they're going to build a tunnel underneath Chicago to solve all the traffic problems. And guess who didn't build a tunnel under Chicago to solve all the
good for him to not do that. I mean, the funny part is that Elon actually did go through with it. There's a really funny video on YouTube where it's like it shows people using the tunnel and then they just run into more traffic in the tunnel.
Wait, they actually made it? I thought it.
I didn't think it was made either. The one to like LAX.
They only made one. He wanted to make a lot more of them, I think, but he made one that actually is functional and used. But I think nobody really likes it as opposed to fucking just sitting in traffic because it kind of doesn't really do the same. It doesn't do very much.
When he said it was like a subway system for cars where you drove your car onto a train and then got off at a different place.
Yeah.
I knew at that point, like, oh, this is a really stupid idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it takes a genius to realize, like, it doesn't eliminate the concept of a queue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it should go slower because there's no way there's, like, as many train beds as there are, like, cars that go into that thing.
Flamethrower?
Which is weird because, honestly, if everyone had a self-driving car, that would actually eliminate traffic because the thing that causes traffic are people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But while we're at it, why don't we just
starting and stopping because you're like afraid of crashing into the other person like causes traffic jams. There's
So
like
we should
a
just
couple
crash into
videos.
people.
Yes.
No, we should just be perfect drivers, but that's not possible.
Oh.
Which is why
For you.
a self-driving car would solve it. But Elon, for some reason, thought like, oh, instead of just doing what I'm already doing, I'm gonna make a tunnel. I don't know. It's weird. Just keep doing what you were doing. I don't know. Make a self-driving car. Whatever.
You guys remember his submarine from the Thai cave rescue?
Yeah, I did. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was another moment where I was like, Elon really thinks that he's Jimmy Neutron or something. I don't know. He's like inserting himself into situations it doesn't know
Jimmy
shit
Neutron
about.
submarine would have worked.
I would like to.
No, have you seen Jimmy Neutron? His shit never works. That's the kind of
yeah.
the weird thing about the. We watched the movie recently for the podcast, and I remember Jimmy Neutron being a boy genius because it's in the name, but he really sucks at building anything. They always break. Everything he makes breaks. He actually just builds all of his shit out of tin cans, and they fall apart. It's a fucking travesty. It's false
Well, dude,
advertising.
He got it right with Goddard once, and
Yeah,
then
he really
he's
did.
been chasing that.
I mean,
That-
he did
what-
get space
what
into outer
happens
space,
is
though.
there's like 20 minutes of him being an idiot, and then he'll have a brain blast, and then he'll like tie a soda can to something, and then it'll like work through sheer dumb luck.
Dude,
It's
he's
the
like,
guy
are you
with the
familiar with
babies.
Warhammer lore?
Yeah.
He is Goblin.
I'd like to go on the record and say that it was actually funny when Elon Musk called that that like very well-meaning Thai diver guy a pedophile.
The guy that rescued 20 children.
Yeah,
The guy who actually-
what an interesting like
Wait,
deflect.
what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Matt. Basically, like he and Elon Musk he stopped like Tesla R&D and had all of or SpaceX R&D. I don't know, one of his dumb companies. He stopped R&D for that company and had them develop a submarine to get kids out of those caves in Thailand where they were trapped a few years ago. And one of the divers who was actually there, and as Peter said, like saved like actually 20 kids, replied to Elon's tweet about like, hey, I made this submarine that you guys can use. And the diver was like, hey, we literally can't use this. This sucks. Like, we're just going to keep rescuing people the way we have. And Elon Musk was like, shut up, you pedophile.
Well, why do you think that guy wanted to rescue all those kids, Gus?
Yeah, dude, literally, dude.
Yeah,
Literally.
because he wanted to F them.
All I'm going to say is do your own research.
I love that little cop out. That little cop out of like explaining anything. It's really fun.
I'm doing my own research right now, and there is no credence at all to what you're saying.
Okay, well, you clearly didn't do the type of research that I wanted you to do. I wanted you to do research that proved my point.
Not on the fake internet, on the real internet.
No, you're not looking in the right spots. You got to look in the spots where people are saying what I agree with.
Yeah.
Those are the spots you got to look.
I would like to give a shout out to my cousin who works at Twitch, who let me stay at his house last week for GDC. Because I think a handful, just being me. I tried to make a somewhat maybe in the realm of racist joke while I was at his house. So we had been watching One Piece, and also One Piece is actually really good. Which who would have thought? But there was this arc where there's this guy who has like an acorn on his head. So we were just like, me and him are always riffing, and we were riffing about acorns. And I was reminded of this just wonderful nugget of a joke from William Montgomery, this Austin comedian, where he's like, he has it in his act right now where he's like, yeah, I told my dad we were gonna get Indian food, and my dad was like, what? You mean like acorns?
I don't get it.
Like Native Americans, like I guess in like
Oh,
they have something to
that's
do with
not
acorns.
that's not that racist though.
Yeah.
Native Americans are called Indians.
Yeah, I know, and it's like that's like a weird
They
thing, right?
shouldn't-
Where like
They shouldn't be, but they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and I think there's like a weird like schism where like some actual Native American people don't like to be called Indians, and some are like, no, we literally are Indians.
yeah, because that's just the terminology. Like people, yeah. I don't know. There's a ton of American words in general that mean two things. Like it's not their fault.
I will counteract this by referring to the people of India as native Asians.
There you go.
That's a good reversal.
Yeah, they were there first.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Who's to say?
I don't think they were actually. I think they came from like the Middle East at some point.
I doubt it. To play devil's advocate, I doubt it. Okay, guys, but remember, we're actually not a dark web conspiracy theory podcast. We are a movie and video game podcast, I guess. Have you guys played any movies or watched any video games in the last week?
I played all of Resident Evil 4 remake like a 2-day time period.
Dude, hell yeah.
So
I watched people play Resident Evil 4
Same.
remake in a 2-day time period.
I just watched my friend play it. I don't play video games.
Fish
What?
fucking them.
Fish
I like
it
the
looks
knife.
cool. It
Yeah.
looks cool. It's I don't know. Have you played it, guys?
No, but I played the original, and I watched a lot of clips of the remake. I have very fond memories of the original. The original game was actually my first experience ever with a corrupted save file. Me and my friend.
Sucks.
Yeah, me and
It's
my
the
friend.
GameCube though.
Yeah, well, I was playing on the Wii. I was playing the.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel like I made this joke on the podcast, but me and my friend who I was playing that with, we would always joke because every Resident Evil game has that like scary guy saying the name of the game at the beginning, and he's like Resident Evil 4. But we were playing on the Wii, so we would always joke that like Nintendo contractually obligated Capcom to edit in Wii edition, like in Mario's voice. After that,
yeah.
But yeah, we got all the way to like the final boss of Resident Evil 4, and then turned on the Wii the next day, and our save was corrupted. So then we watched the final boss fight on E-Bombs World or whatever the fuck was around when we played that.
That's fine.
But yeah, it's a great ass game. I have very fond memories of it. I still remember how good the Red 9 feels. The like cool pistol, cool like Chinese pistol or whatever.
I'd been hearing from people who have been playing it that it is actually very good and it holds up to the legacy. I've heard from people that the fourth one is the best Resident Evil game that was made.
Yeah.
So the remake being able to hold up to that kind of like legacy is pretty impressive in these current times of remakes and reboots being kind of horrible in terms of video games. You know what I mean?
As someone who's played the original like 10 times, I feel like it was a very, very faithful adaptation.
That's awesome to hear.
But like good
I
modernization,
love
right?
wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love what?
I love wins. I love
yeah.
all sorts of wins. I love LGBT wins. I like video game wins. I like epic wins.
What's actually, that's a good question. What's your favorite LGBT win? Mine is the movie Bros, and the fact that it did really good in theaters.
Yours is the movie what?
Mine is the movie Bros, and the fact that it did really good in theaters.
Oh, my favorite LGBT win is the scene in Dude, Where's My Car where they pull up to Fabio and Fabio kisses his girlfriend, and in order to like compete with him, they kiss each other passionately. And then Fabio drives off angrily. That was an LGBT win.
Oh yeah, I guess Peter's on the podcast. Peter Freilich.
I am? Fuck, I didn't know that. You're recording me this whole time?
Yeah,
we're going to blackmail you.
Yeah, we're gonna blackmail you.
Oh,
We're gonna clip
This
out all
audio will leak to every computer in America if you do not give me $5.
It's like a threat at them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of
The world will suffer.
That's a lot.
That's why I want to hear thinking a big picture.
There's a part in have you guys seen the movie the American version of the girl with the dragon tattoo?
That was cool. David Fincher? Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of it's a great movie, one of his best. He has a lot of good movies. But have you guys seen it? I don't want to spoil too much of it. I'll try and.
I saw
that
that
movie. I love that movie.
Okay, well, the part where she like basically gets revenge on her rapist by like tying him up and basically like threatening him saying like, you better give me money without any problems, or else I'm going to like, because she secretly recorded him raping her, right? You know that plot line?
Oh, yeah.
There's a part where she's threatening him and she says like, if you don't do this video, and she points to the video of like her getting raped, like will spread across the internet like a virus. And I was like, that sucks. Like that's a horrible virus. Like I wouldn't want to like open my email and see somebody getting raped. Like that would be
Good
that
Morning
would
America
be
talking about.
yeah. I don't really think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that reminds me of how on like iCarly, there was always that running joke where she would always say like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the internet," and it's like, or like on Drake and Josh, like Megan just put it on the internet. Like at that point, social media wasn't even like a thing. So like, where did she put it?
Yeah,
Like,
who's gonna see it?
You know what I was reminiscing about recently? You guys remember back in the iTunes day when Apple like force gave everybody a YouTube album or a YouTube album?
dude, I keep
yeah.
that in. I keep that in my
Yeah.
iTunes library just for old
You
times.
still
sake.
have it? Yeah.
Mm.
And it's so weird too because the album art for it is a picture of Bono like hugging the groin of like a young boy, like a teenage boy, and that teenage boy isn't even like his son. It's like the son of one of the other guys in U2.
What?
Yeah.
Just him hugging another member of the band.
No, like here, I'll post it.
Songs of
YouTube.
Innocence.
Throw it
is the
up.
name of the album.
Yeah,
I just have the picture.
yeah, it's like there's like a shirtless like young guy who I believe it when it was
Go on.
where do I put this picture? In recording links. Yeah, it's like this like shirtless kid, and Bono is like hugging his like abdomen.
That's the album
groin.
cover?
Yeah,
It's like he's getting ready to suck his cock.
I know, and it's like that's the son of like the Edge or one of the other dudes in YouTube.
Okay, but that's like the album cover of the album that was put on everybody's iPhone.
Yes, it's so weird.
And that's really funny. Everybody's like, "Why is this gay artwork on my phone I just bought?"
Yeah, dude.
That's really funny.
Literally.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't experience that because I don't think I ever had. The only Apple products I ever had was like the very first iPhone, back when it first came out, and then, like I think an iPod Touch at some point.
It was sort of supposed to be like an appreciation gift. It was like, oh yeah, you use iTunes, and we just want to show appreciation to everyone who uses it by just giving you the new U2 album for free. And like, if you were a fan of U2, that was like probably like a cool thing. But like the way they did it is it automatically got added to your library, and it was really hard to delete.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah,
Why
I
was
guess
it
if
hard
you
to
if you were
delete?
like if you were like shuffling through your library, then a U2 song would come up and be like, I didn't add this to my shit.
Yeah, and it was also they did it like right around the time where U2 stopped being like cool, where like
Yeah.
they went from being this like whatever genre like alt prog rock like interesting band, they went to just kind of being like these like old guys who stuck around in pop culture.
Yeah. I mean, they had kind of like 5 good years in the late 90s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So- it was. I always liked U2 though when I was a kid. Like I really liked that album How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb with Vertigo.
Yeah.
Hello, hola.
Yeah. I do remember having that CD growing up. That song,
CD.
Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
Yeah,
It's good.
exactly.
That was you.
Yeah, I
too?
mean, it's not bad music. It's just kind of played out, and like it reminds me a little bit of like REM and stuff, you know, where it's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
some of their music is like nice to just have on a shuffle, but I wouldn't listen to an entire album by the band.
I mean, they're kind of like Safeway, like the music the Safeway plays.
Yeah. Oh, wait, you worked at Safeway, didn't you?
No, I worked at a CVS a long ass time
Oh,
ago.
okay.
But yeah,
I
same,
was
same thing. Like,
I was gonna say is like, yeah, grocery store music is 100% like that kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna seek out this music, but if it comes on, I'm not gonna like turn it off, you know.
it's almost
I'm gonna be
inoffensive.
like, skip this shit.
I
It's
think
kinda like,
music that
Owl
nobody can
City,
fall asleep. Yeah.
Owl, dude, I was just
Fire-
thinking about Owl City.
Fireflies. Like that was always the song that I would hear in Safeway when I worked there. I was like, this song is not growing on me. It's the opposite.
I see. I like that song like once,
Yeah,
and then.
but if
and
you
then-
hear it at work all day,
yeah, it's like okay, cool.
yeah,
Well, I used to
I-
work
I
like
had-
till midnight, and all that shit just puts you to sleep.
yeah. I had a friend who used to work at I think Burlington Coat factory or something like that. And he said that his most hated song of all time was "Smooth" by Santana and Matchbox 20.
What?
Because they would always play it, and I was like, "Oh, that sucks," because that song fucking rocks, man.
That is a
It really
good
is.
ass song.
That's a good ass song, and I would hate for that to get ruined by Burlington Coat Factory night shifts. You know?
Yeah, and the thing too is like it literally is just like the ocean under the moon.
It is. It's just like the ocean.
Why
Dude,
would the Burlington Coat Factory have a night shift? There's like a lot of people like 2 a.m. They're like,
No,
now we're getting
I
to
don't
the
know.
real questions.
they gotta
You
make
know,
those
I
freaking coats.
I don't appreciate you nitpicking my
Yeah.
language when it's clearly just wrong. I mean the late shift.
I mean, I wasn't nitpicking. I was just genuinely curious. I was like
No,
actually kind of
no.
excited to
I
find out.
misspoke. I misspoke. Yeah, for sure.
You remember
I
it-
misspoke.
Remember when we talked about that whole like speak when spoken to kind of ground rule? We might have to kind of expand that for being on the podcast.
Hey, wait a minute.
Just don't speak at all.
No.
We should.
No,
I should have a
I-
push to talk button, but just for Peter. Like, like I have his push to talk button.
Yeah, I'm sure the Burlington Coat Factory closes at 9. You know,
I was really excited by the idea that there was like a late night Burlington Coat.
That would be
Burlington Coat
funny.
Factory after dark.
no, he worked at a bad one. Like he worked at one in like a bad neighborhood. He said like the majority of his job is just like cleaning up like clothes on the ground that like people who like just go in there and just like have like crack cocaine fits in the middle of the aisle like knock over. Yeah,
Dude, I was just
Pretty
at
fun.
Ross today. Ross fucking sucks.
Ross
Yeah,
is
Ross
like
clothes.
yeah. Does anyone work there?
Dude, that's the thing. No one works there. Dude, I was in. Okay, I will say I like Marshalls better than Ross. I usually have a pretty
No,
good experience when I'm at Marshalls, but today
yeah.
I went there, and like I had to return a shirt that I got for my grandmother that was like too big. So I went up to the front desk, and we were like, "Hey, could you see if you guys have this in a medium?" And they were like, "We don't have a way to look that up." And I was like, "You guys don't have like a database or something where you can look at the inventory you have?" And then the like 15-year-old kid behind the counter was like, "Oh, let me go ask." And then another cashier came up to me while he was asking and was like, "No, we can't do that. We don't have anything where we can look up what we have in the store. You have to go find it. We can have someone go look for it, but." I was like, it's fine.
Hilarious.
That's awesome.
I like Kohl's
To be
is kinda
fair-
like that too.
To be fair, when I worked at Bed Bath and Beyond, a big part of my shift I would just hide. I wouldn't. So when I go into those kinds of stores, I'm like, yeah, people do work here. They're just like hiding, like I did. Makes sense. I would do it too.
I wonder
That's funny.
if my hemorrhoid got bigger when I had my corporate job and would just like hide in the bathroom for like 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I would do too. Hide in the bathroom or hide in the back. Like go. If I would go in the back and I text people. If anybody ever saw me back there, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was looking for something." A customer was like asking me where somebody was.
And they were like,
And
"Dane,
then,
it's 11 p.m. There's no customers here."
And then when my seasonal hire was over, they're like, "Yeah, we're not keeping you on because you just go hide in the back the whole time."
Was it
Yeah, that's
reminiscent of the movie Click It All, starring Adam Sandler?
I've never seen Click actually.
Bro, what?
It's good.
Oh, dude, Bed Bath & Beyond plays a weirdly big role in that movie.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That he got the remote in the Beyond section. That's kind of a funny
Yeah.
prank, a little
Yeah.
joke, a little gag.
That's pretty funny.
No, that working at Bed Bath Beyond was probably one of the top 3 worst jobs I ever had for sure. It's basically you learn about all of this useless shit so that you can like talk customers into buying it instead of like going on Amazon. You have to be like, no, buy it here. Don't go on Amazon, please.
Yeah, buy it
Why
here
would you
for
ever want to do
$4
that?
more.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to convince people. it's you know.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I think
like,
I think the thing was it's like if anybody's like trying to compare the price to like online prices, then you can basically tell them that we'll match the price. That was our little
that was
sales
our way
tactic.
we did it.
Which fair enough. It's like I'd rather you just lose a little bit of money on the sale. I don't know. Corporate retail jobs are the worst fucking thing ever. I can't wait for robots to take those jobs away from people so that they don't like kill themselves, you know?
Yeah, I can't wait until they all kill themselves. Wait,
See
what'd you
what
say?
Sam Altman thinks, though. You know,
Yeah, you're the editor. You can make me say whatever you want me to say. You can make me say horrible things.
I'm gonna make you say the freaking N word, dude.
Oh, don't do it. No,
Okay,
make
well.
me say something really wholesome, actually.
Okay, editor, me, edit that in right now.
I'm shitting in my pants.
Oh, damn, that was actually really sweet.
very
Thanks.
thoughtful.
I
I'm
definitely
literally-
thought of it myself. Okay, cool.
This last week, the whatever, I don't know what time is, but the podcast that I'm going to post tomorrow morning, as of when we're recording this, I edited in the entire Ghostbusters animated show theme song.
Why would you go and do a thing like that?
It was a freaking bit, dude. Heard of it? Have you ever heard of bits? And I ain't talking kibbles.
I've heard of a kilobit. Is that anything similar?
No, you fucking dork.
Pushes up glasses. Shit self.
What? I have been playing a lot of Pokemon Go this week.
Have you?
Yeah,
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's so good. It's
Matt
just
still
such
hasn't
a good
added
time.
me.
I still
So
haven't
sad.
re-downloaded it.
I'm so freaking sad.
Naughty bitch.
freaking
Nah,
cry, bro. Just
what?
go cry.
I don't want to
I
cry.
have so many gifts to give out and no one to give them to. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little app to play when you're just kind of wandering around.
It feels so low stakes. Like there's no.
Yeah.
The only stake there is like sometimes a Pokemon you kind of want will run away, but then you
Mhm.
realize that actually doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah, you'll see it again sometime.
Yeah, it's just.
Although I will say it was really frustrating last week. A Gengar like silhouette showed up on a stop that was like a block away from me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I like put on my shoes and everything. I got up, I got out of my fucking house, walked over to it. Gengar shows up. I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I throw a ball at it. He breaks out and he immediately runs away.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
like, "Fuck you! You made me walk all the way over here for you to run away, stupid Gengar." Yeah.
That happened to me with a Snivert.
Snivert? What the fuck is a Snivert?
I
Who
think
made
his
that
name is
up?
Snivert. I think his name is Snivert.
Are you positive his name is Sniver?
I'm just imagining like a Snivert is like a big nose Pokemon, kind of like Nose Pass, but like more human looking.
No, it's the second evolution of Snivy from Black and
well,
White.
yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I got excited because that was my starter in that game, and then he freaking ran away
Yeah.
after one Pokeball.
Yeah. I actually don't. You just said it, and I still don't remember what the first evolution of that evolution line is called. I always refer to it as Smugleaf because that was what Twitter called it when it got leaked. Because the names weren't leaked, or the names weren't like revealed whenever it got leaked, but the models were, and that like Pokemon, you put a picture up of it right now, looks real smug, and he's clearly the grass type, so they called it Smugleaf. So every time I see that Pokemon, I always think it's called Smugleaf, but that's not real. That's just made up.
They were essentially right.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
I just pre-ordered Tears of the Kingdom or Tears of the Kingdom, whatever it's
Oh
called.
yeah,
Does
that
that come
yeah.
out?
in May.
Yeah, in May.
Oh, that's pretty soon. I didn't realize it was like that near.
Hot
I
take.
I should
the new
pre-order it
systems
too.
Are dumb.
The new what?
The new systems in that game.
The
Kinda
new
dumb.
systems?
Yeah.
Have you played it?
No, they just look dumb.
Oh,
I'm saying like all the
What?
Fuse shit.
you said it was such authority. I thought you'd already played it before.
Nah, dude.
I didn't even watch the
You're
new
like,
stuff. I'm
by
too
the
excited.
way, yeah, the game sucks. Yeah, I just played it. Played 100 hours of it already.
Yeah, dude.
You just think that it
like-
looks dumb, but you don't know. I mean, it could turn out to be fun.
I don't know, but it just it looks very gimmicky.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope I enjoy
all-
it, but
all of the powers that you get are kind of gimmicky, to be honest. They're mostly just made to solve puzzles. Like you don't really, at least I never seem to use those powers in combat as much, So I don't know.
Yeah.
Whenever they
Yeah.
show like the preview of like how to use the little gimmicky powers, they always show it used in combat, and I'm like, that just looks like something you do like after you've beaten the game and you're just fucking around. It doesn't look like something you actually do. You use all of those little powers in the puzzle rooms because they're designed around that. But
Hmm.
but I don't know. I'm trying to think like there were the one where you freeze time or whatever. I sometimes would use those on enemies to like freeze them.
Freeze
But other than that, I don't.
time.
There's the
No,
one
honestly-
power. There's the one power in Breath of the Wild where you can freeze an object for like a few seconds.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Did you play Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
it's yellow. The yellow one where you
And the
Yeah,
yellow
but
one.
that's,
time.
that's you can't do that on enemies, can you?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, what the fuck?
Once you upgrade it, there's like the base
I
power,
must have
and then
never
when you,
upgraded it.
when you
Yeah,
upgrade
upgrading
them,
is kind of
oh.
not like really. It's actually kind of like you have to go out of your way to upgrade those powers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I played Breath of the Wild, so I don't remember exactly what each upgrade does, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, if you upgrade that one, I think you can freeze enemies. You freeze them for significantly longer than you freeze like boulders in the puzzle rooms, but it's still really useful if you're getting ganged up on. But I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Whenever
I'm
I looked at the
excited.
trailer, the one where you rewind time, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to use that like to fight a goblin.
Mm.
But whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Tracer's ability in Overwatch, but harder to use.
I'm mostly just excited to play Breath of the Wild again, just with like more things to do. You know what I mean? It looks
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
essentially the game looks like the world's best DLC of all time, and I'm fine with that. They just basically took the map and added more shit to it, and
Skylands.
that's great.
Bro.
yeah, that's great. I like Breath of the Wild so much. I would love to play it again with more shit added. You know,
Yeah, I
I'm
can't
going to pre-order
freaking
it now.
wait. I literally just did it now, like as we were potting.
You pre-ordered it?
I'm right
Yeah,
behind you, bro.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it.
Where do you pre-order stuff? I usually do it through Amazon, but a lot of people have told me that that's not like a good idea.
Yeah,
'Cause they
Amazon's,
Why
sometimes
not?
fuck up.
yeah, Amazon's
Because
not
they
the best.
sometimes fuck up and don't send it to you on time.
Mm.
For me,
that
I-
happened to me every time. So yeah, I just deal with it.
I've always had perfect luck with Amazon. Like I've been told by Amazon that my thing is not going to come on the day, but then it always comes on the day.
Yeah.
But I also I recently did that with Final Fantasy DAC 16, and it explicitly told me like, hey, this is definitely going to be late. But then I realized I don't really care. So if you don't care that much, to go with Amazon. I was going to pre-order Final Fantasy 16 and Breath of the Wild Part 2, the sequel, the squeakquel. I wanted to pre-order it at like a brick and mortar store, but then I looked in my area and there's literally in Austin, and maybe if someone's listening to this in Austin, like let me know, but like I literally don't think there's any local game stores in Austin that are not like vintage game stores. Like I called a couple and the only ones that I could find were like all they do is sell like Sega Genesis games, like that kind of thing. Like you go there to buy like Beautiful Joe on GameCube. They don't actually stock any new games.
$350.
Yeah, exactly. So I just gave up and got it on Amazon because in Chicago, I would never pre-order games really usually because there was a really good used game shop near me that also stocked new games called The Exchange, which was like right underneath my train stop. So I would go there like literally every day after work and just walk around and like maybe buy like some weird used Blu-ray or something. But and I would also pre-order and buy my games there. So I was bummed to see that Austin doesn't really have that kind of thing.
Yeah, brick and mortar stores that sell stuff that you can buy online are a dying breed, 100%.
Unfortunate.
There's a like a Blu-ray, like a kind of like what Dimple Records used to be for like all sorts of media. There's that kind of shop like 20 miles away from me that I kind of want to eventually make my way over to, but yeah, I kind of wish that you could go and look through that stuff IRL.
Wait, where
It's
is
a
it?
lot. It's over in Bellevue.
Oh.
Bellevue's like 20 miles away from me, right? It might not be that long.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm thinking 20 minutes.
Yeah,
20
it's like
minute
20
drive.
minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Peter
I'm
used to be
surprised
such
that
a
you I'm surprised you have problems with Amazon deliveries on time, Matt. Because I feel like I feel like ever since moving to Amazon City, like all of my Amazon deliveries are pretty on time. Usually they get here earlier.
Yeah, so deliveries on time, game deliveries No.
Mm.
Like that's where I've had
Like
problems.
pre-order stuff. Okay.
Yeah, like you'll get it and they're like, we'll ship it to you the day of, and then it'll get there like the end of the day. Or sometimes,
Right.
oh, sorry. For like big games, we'll be like, oh, sorry, we ran out. Be there in a couple days. It's like, well, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Happened with Animal Crossing.
I
I think I
Oh.
ran out and
Mm.
bought Animal Crossing. Was just like, fuck, cancel my order. I'm gonna. No, actually, I had to wait. Yeah, because that was COVID. That extra stuff.
Right.
That was like
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
hmm
Did it with
Yeah.
some other game though. It was just frustrating. Yeah.
I will say though the option with Prime delivery to have same day delivery is totally a trap and it's a joke and it actually doesn't work.
Yeah, same day never fucking works.
No, every time I'm like, oh cool, so free same day delivery, I'll pick that one. It's just like every single time it ends up sending me a notification. Sorry, your thing is late. It'll come here tomorrow. So
It works. It
there
works
is
for
that.
me. It works for me. Maybe. Did you guys ever? Did you? Maybe. Okay. This is maybe a stupid question, but did you guys ever submit biometric data to Amazon? And every time you shit talk them on the internet, have you ever found that your Amazon deliveries come a day late?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Although I don't know, maybe I did submit
I've never
biometric data
shit.
to
I've
Amazon.
never shit talked to Amazon. I have nothing but praise for the great and
There-
noble.
hey, there you
Amazon
go, there you go.
Corporation.
Dude, your Amazon stuff's gonna be so much cheaper now.
Yeah, it's
Good
so much
job.
earlier too.
That's really cool.
Honestly, I don't really have
Because
a
they're a
problem
good
with Amazon.
company, not because they fired them.
I mean, I don't have a problem with Amazon's like service, but them as a company is kind of shady.
Yeah. So pretty much, what do you guys want to talk about now?
I rewatched Silence of the Lambs the other night. If you guys want to talk
Nice.
about
That's
I
cool.
watch that movie like every once in a while just because it's good.
that, yeah,
So I feel like it's pretty
solid.
fresh in my mind.
That's a good point.
It's always pitched as a horror movie, but it's actually not that scary. It's more of a
It's not
thriller.
really scary. Yeah, it's more just like. And I was thinking about this in a weird way. It's kind of like any modern police show, like an episode of CSI or Criminal Minds.
Yeah. I think the only like scary part is the part where she's in Bill's apartment and it's like night vision
Yeah.
mode. That
Dude,
part's sick
so
though.
sick. So sick.
That's awesome. It's a great movie, although it has come under fire recently for its negative portrayal of a trans person. But I
Yeah.
actually think it was ahead of its time in that you can villainize anybody who's insane.
Yeah, I would recommend people who have a problem with that to shut the fuck up.
Although I will say, like, I think the part maybe that doesn't age so well is just like the police person saying that they're going to like cancel all like trans like operations done in all like the hospitals in the like surrounding area. Like that's not a good idea. But I don't know, maybe the movie was supposed to basically say like, yeah, the police officers being mean. It's hard to say.
Wait, what did they do? They canceled all trans surgeries?
Yeah, because they
How
didn't
does he
want
have that authority?
right? I don't know.
Cops
I don't know
do whatever they
exactly.
want.
It's like a throwaway part, but I mean, I have seen people bring that up. I'm like, yeah, I suppose it's like if the police are the heroes of the story, then it's kind of strange that they would be like, yeah, let's like punish trans people for this one person doing bad things.
I feel like the movie does, even for its time, though, go very far off its way to say like Bill is not a normal trans person. And,
Yeah,
like, the characters in the movie like don't consider them to really be authentically trans.
Yeah. And by the way, most of the criticism is like on Twitter. So-
Yeah, inevitably.
It's hard to take it too seriously. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic movie. Just in that, one thing that I like about it is it really puts you kind of at the POV of Clarice,
Right.
as far as like how uncomfortable she's made by men in her life, because she's very small. She's very like one of the best shots in the movie is when she gets into the elevator with all of like her coworkers, and they're all like at least like 2 feet taller than she is.
Yeah, like these
And,
giant ass FBI dudes.
Yeah, and she just kind of gets in, and she's just like, yeah, I'm just in the elevator, but you can see that she's kind of made uncomfortable by it. And there's a lot of shots in the movie where characters are looking directly into the camera as if like you are being talked to, as if you're Clarice, and it's very like intimate and weird, and it kind of makes you feel a little like icky.
Yeah, the camera is
cool.
kind of like put in the middle of the conversation, right? Like if she's
Yeah.
talking to Hannibal, like it's between her and Hannibal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like it's a subtle criticism of like what would I guess be called the male gaze, you know. And I like movies that try to make what would probably be considered today to be political points, but without like shoving it down your throat. It's kind of like just implicating it in the way it's presented, and it makes you think about it later without thinking like, what was that movie trying to tell me? You just kind of naturally end up thinking about it. You're just like, why was I made uncomfortable by every man talking to her, whether they're villains or not? It's like, well, that's because that's the experience of like a female working in a male-dominated space. That's just how it is.
Yeah. And it's cool to like come to a realization yourself too, instead of just having like another movie I watched recently was Triangle of Sadness. There's literally a point in the movie where Woody Harrelson's socialist character just has like a 5-minute speech about how the rich people should pay more taxes.
Oh boy.
Like, they can't like a way to make that like work in the narrative. Like I really did not like Triangle of Sadness. I thought it was a very like I love Parasite. Parasite's one of my probably my favorite movie.
That's such a good movie.
Yeah, it really is.
But it's such an incredibly nuanced take on what it's talking about. Parasite has so much empathy towards all its characters. It explores so many different positions and has so many things to consider. And it's just such like a magic act of it all just works so perfectly in the movie and it all feels so natural. So Triangle of Sadness is like the anti-Parasite. I don't know if anybody else saw it.
No, I was planning on watching it this week to talk about it on the podcast, but I forgot to. But it's interesting you bring that up because the previews that I saw for it and the way that people were talking about it, I kind of had this idea that it was kind of like, oh, aren't rich people the worst? Kind of like tone to it. Yeah. And like I'm not a really big fan of corrupt rich people or whatever, and most rich people probably are, but it's like you can also present it in a way that's not like, hey, get a load of this guy, you know?
Yeah,
are these people fucking awful? Let's fucking eat them. Let's eat the rich. Like, I like having those kinds of ideas presented more subtly, kind of like, with Silence of the Lambs. It's like, it's not trying to make a statement. It's just kind of there. That's what Parasite is
putting
too.
it out there. Yeah.
Like, damn, I had something. Never mind. Move on. Did you guys see Triangle of Sadness?
Mm-mm.
No, it seemed a little obtuse to me where my geometry is at.
Hey. Triangle of Badness.
Yeah, more like to quote Dane from last week's podcast where I was talking about my dumbass haters inspired Dark Souls game. Dane was like, "I'm not trying to do math homework."
I remember what I was saying is that I kind of had a similar experience with the movie The Menu. Did you guys see that one?
I saw The Menu. Yeah,
I liked it.
So
I liked
so
it.
Like that. I liked it, but it did have a little bit of that like on the noseness to it, where that I just kind of felt uncomfortable with. Where it's just like, yeah, aren't these people who like fancy food kind of fucking stupid and weird? And it's like you don't have to like have the main character basically just point all this out. You can just have her feel uncomfortable, or better yet, maybe have her be on board with it, and then discover through the fucked up shit that happens that it is actually kind of weird and stupid, rather than her already having made that decision from the beginning, and basically you're just like, these people fucking are stupid and weird. I'm better than them.
I think what was cool about Parasite too is like it's not just like rich people are awful. Like the rich people in Parasite are for the most part like pretty nice people. They're just so insulated from the rest of the world that they can't.
They're blissfully unaware.
Empathy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
Whereas Triangle
yeah.
of Sadness is entirely just like every rich person in the movie is a massive piece of shit. They have no redeeming qualities.
Yeah. At the end of the menu, when like the whole thing is burning down in the distance, and she's just like eating a burger, all like sassily and stuff. I was just like, oh wow, that was such a slay moment, you know.
Yeah, she really did slay.
Slay moment.
I don't know. Kind of came off as a little cringe, but overall, the menu is better probably than Triangle of Sadness as far as like getting the point across that like these societal little things are a little odd, you know.
Society,
Yeah, definitely.
not for me. I'm more of an anti-culture, counterculture kind of guy myself.
I'm more of
really?
a clown prince of crime,
Yeah, I'm just like
an agent of chaos.
I'm just the kind of guy that like they zig and I zag. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are you
That's cool
serious?
because
man?
that's crazy. I just do whatever I'm told, and I just like whatever popular music is popular. I just listen to that, you know.
That's actually funny you said that because right before you got on the Discord call, me, Matt, and Peter were kind of just like we kind of had this like powwow where we all like realized at the same time that you, Dane, are just kind of like a sheeple type guy. Like you just kind of like
Yeah.
you just like an order taker. You
Oh,
just
sheep are so cute. I love sheep. I am
no,
a sheep. Yes.
No, you're actually a fursona. This is actually a good segue for into your new April Stools video where you come out as a furry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So many furries like message me and they're like, "What is the ref sheet for that? I want to draw it." And I'm like, "Don't! It's a joke. Stop."
Did they really?
And then I think, and somebody was like, "Good choice for a fursona. I love corgis." I was like, I told the person to just draw a wolf because that's like what most furries are. That's not a corgi, but whatever.
Did you share this somewhere else? Because like it was very obvious it was a joke in your video.
No,
I'm
it
kind of
was just-
surprised you got a commission because it was like on screen for like 5 seconds.
No, it's worth it.
Worth it. I know. I'm just saying. Like,
It's worth the joke.
did anybody think it was like real? Like
for as in to like kind of complete the joke on Twitter and on Discord, I changed my profile picture to that picture for a day, for the entire day of April 1st. But then I just changed it back, and then, yeah. But I don't know. I think even though people know it's a joke, I think that they were still excited to see something like that. You know, people who are in that culture.
It was pretty good. Looking at it,
Yeah, it's well done. It was a funny joke because everyone knows that furry all pyromanes are furries, or all furries are pyromanes. I don't know exactly what it is, but
Dane, do you ever think about just doubling down on this and sort of becoming like a Moses of furries?
the Moses.
That's a good question.
What the hell? What?
Just
What?
lead them
Can
to
you
the
elaborate
promised
on what my role would be as the Moses of furries?
You would become a spiritual figure that leads them away from the oppression they currently experience.
Oh,
Yeah, that's cool.
okay. I don't think furries are oppressed anymore. I think that furries have become pretty well accepted within the internet culture, to be honest. I think people who hate furries usually are just closeted furries at this point, right?
I think that I met a furry at GDC because I met this person
Mm-hmm.
at GDC and they were like, yeah, I spend most of my time in VR chat. And I thought to myself, you're probably a furry.
If they're on VR chat, there's like a 60% chance, yeah.
But they were really cool. That was a really cool person. I think furries.
All furries I've met.
Chat, shout out.
No, well, I shouldn't say all furries, but most people that I've met who also are furries have been nice. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's just like it's a communal thing. Like you could probably go on YouTube and find like 1 or 2 documentaries about furries, and you'd find that they're just it's like a shared interest. They like anthropomorphic animals and assigning personalities to their own version. It's just a little club. People like being a part of things that are bigger than themselves. And honestly, like people used to be bronies and then they became furries. I feel like that's an improvement, you know?
To quote the vape store that Matt and I used to go to in like Folsom, it's a hobby, not a habit.
I would hope so.
I
would hope so. At least when it comes to, I can't say the same for nicotine addiction. Yeah, but I would hope that most furries are probably like that. Also, what's strange is that a lot of furries are really rich, and so you'd probably find a lot of like investment bankers who go to furry conventions and stuff on the weekends.
That rocks.
Yeah. That's all of my knowledge of the situation, though. I was definitely just making a joke, but the takeaway was that there were a few people who were extra excited about it, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny. I didn't watch your video. Could you summarize it for us? But like kind of hit all the comedic beats that you hit in your video so that I laugh.
Sure. Let me pull up the script and I'll just read it.
Okay.
No, you should watch it, but
Okay, I
to
will.
pitch it to you if you want to have a trailer.
Trailer your video.
I just played Pyro for like a month, and spoiler alert, I didn't actually say like, oh, I'm going to start this day and end this day. It was mostly over the course of like maybe 2 or 3 months that I played Pyro, but I always take breaks from TF2 for weeks on end, so it's just like averaged out over the course of like a month-ish. I played Pyro more than any other class. I would say that I mained Pyro instead of Engineer. And Pyro is my least played class in the game, so that's like kind of like why I chose it, because I wanted to kind of figure out why I didn't like it, because I didn't really know. I just kind of looked at my stats and saw that I didn't play it as much. And the video is basically about my journey to discover what exactly I definitely don't like and do like about Pyro after playing it for so long, and that's like basically the premise. But it was sold as an April Fool's joke because that's just kind of coincided with when I was going to upload it, and I don't know. That's the video.
Okay.
Check it out.
I would give that I don't know, like a few bags of popcorn, to be honest.
Well, the video? You've never seen it?
No, but I think I know enough. It's like kind of like that Dex Flame review of The Godfather. He knew enough about it to feel confident to rate it. That sounds like a really good video. And I'm glad you made it. I would watch it. I'd recommend other people watch it too.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.
Yeah.
August, what is that bags of popcorn thing? You guys have an internal ratings metric here?
Yeah, it's something that I made up.
Yeah, definitely.
That still
It's not
needs
like a
to
Tim
gain
Heidecker thing or
traction.
anything like that.
Yeah. No, actually, that's funny you mentioned that, Dane. The Motion Pixels podcast has been acquired by the High Network.
Oh, okay, makes sense. That's why you've integrated that.
Yeah, it's like kind of
You now
a
have full
integration.
permission to use it.
Yeah. But
There's
to
a really
answer-
great review show,
Yes.
though, that you should check out, Peter. What is it called? On Cinema at the Cinema?
on cinema.
Yeah,
On Cinema.
on cinema at the cinema is what
Yeah.
the full thing is. But it's just a review show with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington, and they just basically play versions of themselves that like don't really know anything about movies, or at
I
least,
have seen this before.
or at least
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they only really know about like movies that don't have anything to do with what they're reviewing, and they just kind of it's really funny satire about kind of like podcasts and review shows in general, because over time the review show becomes less about the movies that they're reviewing and more about the personal lives of the two reviewers and
I
their
have
qualms.
seen a little bit of this before. I do sort of
Okay.
remember that. They're like sitting in a theater, and Tim's like an asshole, and Greg's like kind of passive.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I do own a bunch of VHSs and like I'm a big movie expert and stuff. And I've seen, he always says that he's seen like some obscure movie that no one cares about like 100 times. So he's like the world's best expert on it and stuff like that. They play it completely straight faced and it's very funny. And I appreciate it as like the satire of just kind of people who start these shows trying to like be critical of media, but then they end up just kind of like turning the focus onto themselves and their own interpersonal drama. Like there's an entire wasn't there an entire, I didn't watch all of this, but I heard about it from my friend Ben, who watches like all of it, that Tim Heidecker like was going to court for like murdering somebody. Something like that.
Oh, dude.
And so
Yeah.
every fucking like review that they were doing, basically they just never talked about the movie. They were just like updating the fans on like the situation of the court thing. And at the end, they're just like, "Oh yeah, the movie. Yeah, 5 bags of popcorn. It was really good."
Did you watch the trial?
No, but I want to go back and kind of like watch it from start to finish because it is kind of like a show at the end of the day because it has like a storyline to it.
Dude, the trial is its own thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I do want to go and check all that out. I've heard great things about it though. It sounds funny.
Dude, yeah, that's actually the only thing I've seen from that was the
Oh,
trial.
really?
Yeah, because we had somebody in our Discord like linked it, and I think he was trying to sell people on that it was real at first.
Oh.
And so we yeah, dude, it's like fucking 8 hours long though, dude.
Nice.
It's great. It's great.
Every year I watch the Oscars show that they do. During the Oscars, they do Tim Heidecker and Greg do like an Oscars party show, and they're always really fun. It's like a live show that you can watch if you subscribe to the High Network. It's always good.
Are they in character for it, or?
Yeah, 100%. I think most things that Tim does publicly, he's like in character for. Although I don't know, I've never listened to his podcast, the Office Hours one. I'm assuming he's not.
It's okay.
I'm assuming he's like not playing a character in that.
Yeah, I think that's from what I remember. It's just kind of Tim Heidecker, but I think he turns it on a little bit. But I don't think he turns on his like doofy like doesn't know how to pronounce James Cameron like goofiness like he did in the recent Avatar 2 review. But it's good. Yeah, it's I think Greg Turkington is so fucking funny. Like in all of those, I've seen a few of those specials where like was it an Oscar special where it's like entirely Jaws 2 themed? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Man?
Yeah.
They do this like big production that's all themed around Jaws 2.
Yeah. They hyperfixate on stuff a lot.
Yeah, and like Greg Turkington like drives onto their TV set in like a station wagon full of VHSs from the Victorville Film Archives, where he's trying to promote like his like VHS restoration or VHS like archive nonprofit that I don't think actually exists.
The Oscars where Joaquin Phoenix was nominated for Joker, Greg like he dressed up as like the Jack Nicholson Joker, and the entire show he was basically just like, yeah, Jack Nicholson's Joker was much better than this Joker, and like just trying to downplay it the entire time.
That's awesome. Doesn't Greg Turkington have like another alter ego? Neil, is he Neil Hamburger too?
Yeah, he's Neil Hamburger. He does stand up as Neil Hamburger. He basically just derails any club. That's the whole gimmick.
Yeah, he's so fun. I've seen something. I think I saw something where Neil Hamburger performed at Mega 64's live event in character.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they got him. It was funny.
I would like to see Greg do more things besides the two things that he does, though. He's just naturally a funny guy.
He was in Ant-Man Quantumania.
He was? Oh, sick.
Yeah, and
I gotta check that out.
It is funny because on the red carpet, there's a video where Greg Turkington is asked, like, how many bags of popcorn would you give Ant-Man Quantumania? And he, like, very seriously was like, I can't really do that. It's, it's a big conflict of interest. So on cinema, we can't give a rating.
That's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, he plays like a very small role. He was the manager of Paul Rudd's Ant-Man character at Baskin Robbins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that'd be really funny if they do. Maybe they already have, but do an on cinema episode where Greg is like, he's like, oh, by the way, I was in this movie that we're reviewing, Ant-Man, and then Tim gets really jealous and he's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like you were a small part. You had one line. Why are you bragging about it? Tim always gets really jealous about that stuff. Be fun.
I remember
I should be a writer for the show. This is my pitch.
Yeah, you should be a writer, but you should always pivot other bits into furry stuff.
Yeah, because I'm a furry.
Really?
I'm the furry Moses.
Oh yeah. Have you guys ever heard that album by Isaac Hayes, Black Moses?
No, that is a great title though.
That's some good ass like classic R&B. And the album cover for it is awesome. It's just Isaac Hayes dressed up like Moses. It's like straight. It's like turbo 70s.
I do like Isaac Hayes' voice. He's a good singer.
And I like his religious views too.
Yeah, I'm team Isaac Hayes for sure on the South Park
Yeah.
split.
Yeah, hashtag I'm with Isaac. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. I thought it was really interesting. Do you ever watch the H3 podcast with Tim Heidecker from like years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting because like Ethan Klein in that podcast at that time, that podcast was filmed around the time where H3 Productions was still kind of like actively making those videos that are like kind of like they're kind of like H3's videos at the time were kind of like a YouTubeified Tim and Eric, I would say.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
they definitely took that style.
So much of H3's influence was clearly from that era of adults, the like past like 5 years of Adult Swim kind of humor.
Yeah, I think Ethan Klein's a really smart guy, and he took that style and like made it palatable to YouTube in a cool way.
Sure, yeah.
But I thought that interview with Tim Heidecker was really interesting because Ethan kind of built it up as like, this is like my dream guest. I can't wait to have Tim Heidecker on. And then the interview was like really boring. Like,
100%.
Like all of Tim's answers were just kind of like, oh yeah, you know, when we get in the studio, we just kind of put our heads together and think of something funny, and then we do it. Like Tim is like not turned on. He's not like turning on his character at all. He's not being funny at all. He's literally just kind of like talking about being a professional, and it's like really boring.
I blame that entirely on just the environment of the podcast. At that point, he was trying to do a Joe Rogan thing, I think.
Totally.
And I do like a lot of the interviews that he had, but for guests like that, it was kind of not ideal as far as like entertainment goes.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Eric Andre. Like the Eric Andre interview on H3 was like super boring.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, it was like Eric Andre, like he like Zoom called into the podcast and they did a whole interview with him.
Okay.
But like I could kind of tell, like, I don't know, it felt like awkward because like it felt like Ethan kept trying to like get funny things out of Eric Andre, but then Eric Andre was just kind of like being the same way Tim Heidecker was, just kind of like just talking about almost like the business and not anything about like, you know, like free ranch or legalized ranch or whatever Eric Andre does.
You ever see that Eric Andre interview where he and what's the guy's name from Tropic Thunder? Jay Baruchel.
Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, he and Jay Baruchel are being interviewed on like a Bakersfield local TV network.
Oh, yeah,
and halfway through the interview, they just start talking about the band Korn.
Yeah.
They just realized at some point that Korn was also from Bakersfield, and they just start shouting out lyrics.
I love Korn.
Korn is very nostalgic. I was never really into them, but all my friends were, so it was very easy to get subjected to that kind of music all the time. It's the sound of high school to me.
Yeah, it really is. Our whole high school was just dipped in new metal.
It's it was Korn, System of a Down.
Shit.
Yeah, Korn. It was Korn, System of a Down. Fucking what's that other fucking band? Slipknot.
Oh yeah.
And weirdly enough, Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, totally.
Like those four bands ruled high school.
Dude, you had a very funny. This is just evidence of the fact that I listen to our podcast, and sometimes I listen to it multiple times. You had a funny joke on our last podcast where one of us was talking about how the price of iTunes songs went up to like $1.29, and you were like, I wouldn't pay that much except for like a song like Boom Boom Pow because I'd be playing that all the time.
I was trying to think of the most annoying song to listen on repeat. That is probably one of their worst songs.
You guys remember the sheer amount of juggalos that were at our high school at one point in time?
Yeah,
like 40 of them during lunch.
I loved the fact that they were so adamant about being juggalos for life.
They are for life. They are juggalos for life, though. Yeah. To be fair, they are juggalos for life. They do keep their word.
That's really cool.
But do they?
It's hard to. I think it's hard to get out. That's my theory. You know what I mean? It's kind of like getting into. It's kind of like getting into Scientology. It's hard to leave. You know?
Or the Bloods.
I think the thing about the juggalos is that, like, for the exact same reasons that it's really hard to, like break out of cycles of poverty in the United States. It's really hard to break out of cycles of being a juggalo.
I don't think
for the
that's an
exact same
accident,
reasons.
that correlation.
Yeah,
Because
no,
I think that
yeah,
most
exactly.
people in poverty are also juggalo. Well, no, that's actually not the way I should word that. Most people who are juggalos are also in poverty.
No,
I agree
think you
with the
should,
former statement.
you
I
should
think
stick to your
all
guns on that
poor
one.
people, either
All poor
secretly
people are
or
fucking
openly.
juggalos. Yeah.
Dude, Sam Altman should rebrand WorldCoin to be like Juggalo Coin in appeal to
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
the world's
Clown
world's
coin.
poor who all love the
Appeal.
Juggalos.
To the dark carnival worldwide.
Yeah.
Magnet Coin. How does it work?
I don't know. I actually don't know how that fucking works, to be honest.
And I do not want to hear from no scientist telling me lies, getting me pissed.
It's crazy. It's honestly crazy that band in particular has like cultivated such a like a rabid fan base, because their music honestly is so bad. It is like unironically, like I don't understand. Like there's a lot of music that I don't personally like, where I'm like I could see the appeal, but I don't like it personally. But man, that music is it feels like they're trying to do a bad job. The
Yeah,
people making the songs.
Going back to Parasite real quick, really cool sort of obscure movie detail. If you pay attention to that movie, the poor family very often is wearing full clown makeup.
Yeah, it's a
a good
blink and
point.
you'll miss it kind of detail. I'm sorry to anybody who likes the Insane Clown Posse music, by the way, all 13 of our fans, but
this
there's probably at least one
stands with the
juggalo in there.
juggalos.
No, I actually I support the community aspect of juggalos. Everybody kind of needs a community to be involved in, but
Similar
it's
to the
so
Crips.
strange that it's behind such horrible music. is my problem, you know. But that is all that I feel like that is like that's like a pattern though, because if you look at like the Grateful Dead or like Fish, not very good music, but they all have like rabid fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Dane,
Fish I don't
tread
get.
lightly. Tread lightly, dude. Tread really.
Do you
lightly
really?
now.
So which one did I insult? Fish or Walking or
I'm the Walking Dead.
not Walking Dead? No, Grateful
Phoenix?
Dead.
1 second. Let me scroll through my iTunes library and count how many Grateful Dead albums I have.
Oh damn!
Oh, this guy's a trucker.
Yeah, let's just say I've been trucking for a while. Okay, I'm scrolling. Okay, I just finished scrolling. I'd say I have about 50 Grateful Dead albums in my
my
iTunes
God.
library. Yeah.
I could see you liking that kind of music though, because you said that you really like what were you describing it as, like music that's kind of like it's like background music kind of. I don't know how to describe.
Yeah, really, it just comes down to psychedelic music. Like psychedelic music is kind of this like repeating pattern of like really noisy music. Like shoegaze is what I was talking about last time.
Shoegaze. Thank you. I was trying to remember what you were calling it. Yeah, Grateful Dead is kind of shoegazy in a way.
Yeah, they really are. And I just counted. I have 45 albums in my
damn
library. But really, the only reason why I love the Grateful Dead so much is because I used to smoke a shitload of weed.
Oh, that explains.
Oh yeah.
And listening to the Grateful Dead is just one thing that has survived my smoking weed into my not smoking weed.
Yeah. But it is interesting how like it seems like there's always huge communities built upon like bands where the music doesn't even seem to be the focus of like what the community aspect is about, you know?
Yeah, and I think at least for the Grateful Dead, I imagine that a large part of that is that like it really is just kind of like music to do other stuff too. Like it's not really like there's 0 songs in the like repertoire of the Grateful Dead that are like you just put it on and it's like this cool little jingle. Like all of the like real Grateful Dead songs are like 15-minute long, just like meandering psychedelic like wow that just go on and on and on. And the whole point is you're doing drugs while listening to that.
Right. You're not paying attention
band.
to the music really. You're paying attention to the thing that you're doing.
Yeah, they're straight up jamming, and they have like cool. It is the Grateful Dead might have even been one of the first bands to do this in the same way that the Insane Clown Posse did, but they cultivated this whole image and like persona and vibe
Mhm. Yeah,
around what they did, and like you're saying,
They have
the
a
vibe was
brand.
the vibe was much more important than the actual music. Like,
Yeah,
it
I
was really
understand
just
that.
like the live experience, and I've watched so many fucking Grateful Dead live recordings that like you can really see that the reason why people go is just to kind of see the. Another thing too is the skill of the band. Like the music might be meandering and kind of meaningless at points, but like it's really hard to deny like how good of a fucking guitarist Jerry Garcia was. It's just like crazy what he does. If you're into like guitar music, he just does like the world's craziest solos ever that go on for like 10 minutes, and you're like, how does this guy even do it? So there's that aspect to the music too.
Well, I've considered checking it out because one of my favorite bands is Pink Floyd, and Pink Floyd is
Hell
kind
yeah.
of usually considered to be related to the Grateful Dead as far as like genre. So
Yeah,
Dane,
I
what's
actually
your favorite
Go
Pink
on.
Floyd album?
my favorite Pink Floyd album is probably Animals, but I find myself listening to The Dark Side of the Moon more often, like on repeat. But Animals, I think, is just conceptually like perfect.
Yeah, I love Animal. I'm gonna say for me, it gotta be like Animals or The Wall.
The Wall is awesome, but it's kind of more like it's like a stage play. It's like a musical.
Yeah,
It's like
not
you're listening to a
easy
musical.
listening. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very depressing. But there are a lot of really fucking awesome standout songs from that album. Eh, yeah, The Wall's probably like my third favorite Pink Floyd album.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah,
I always love The Wall because it's the album that got me into Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I used to just be obsessed with The Wall like around 8th or 9th grade. I used to listen to it.
I mean, it is
several
it
times
is
a
like
week.
it is like an emo teenager album.
Oh,
for sure.
and for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's an album about like shutting yourself in.
Yeah. Be like, oh, the world fucking sucks. I'm gonna stay in my room all day. That's basically what the
Yeah.
album's about.
Yeah, no, that's for sure was like my reaction to it at the time too.
The way that I discovered that album is really funny because I had heard that the Another Brick in the Wall on the radio, and my friend at the time was getting into torrenting, and he's like, dude, I can get you any music that you want. What do you want? I'll get it. And I was like, give me that song that goes like, we don't need no education. What's that song called? And he's like, oh, I think it's just called The Wall. And I was like, oh, okay, give me that. So he just gave me the entire album of The Wall because I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
just typed in Pink Floyd The Wall, and he gave me the entire album. I was like, oh, I just wanted one song, but whatever. I guess I'll listen to all this. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh, this is mind blowing. This is fucking awesome. But yeah, Pink Floyd's sweet. Mostly just because concept albums are dead, and I miss them so much.
I've tried to listen to a few Pink Floyd albums. I think The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
But the music for me is too theatrical. Like it feels like
That's my favorite
show
part.
tunesy. Yeah, I just not into that.
The Wall is
personally.
definitely the most show tunesy. Like like I said, it's like you're listening to the soundtrack of a musical, and that's done on purpose. Because
I mean,
like
The Wall literally has a movie that has like performance numbers for the songs.
And the movie's okay. The best version of The Wall though is the live performance like recordings though.
Right.
Because it's presented, and I think in the way that it was designed to be presented, which is a stage presentation. And also they just add keyboards back into it. Did you know that like The Wall actually doesn't have any keyboards in it, which is like kind of a huge part of Pink Floyd as a sound in general? Like, you ever wonder why The Wall sounds so different compared to a lot of albums from them at that time period? Is because they had actually fired Richard Wright because he was like, I don't know, like not contributing enough, and like Roger Waters was really pissed off all the time, like he usually is. And
yeah, Roger Waters is also just like a huge ego to begin with.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of like took over the band.
But he fired the keyboardist. So there's like hardly any keyboards on the album at all. But then they hired him back for the live performances. So Richard Wright is actually contributing to the sound of the live performance, and it sounds awesome. So So I would highly recommend going on YouTube. It's not even on Spotify. You have to go on YouTube to find it. It's the Wall 1980 to 1981 live performances.
You know, I
As
think.
like a
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it. You're looking for the album cover that has like masks of all 4 of the band members on the album cover.
I think I heard somewhere that the original tour for that album only had like 3 shows.
Yeah, no, because it was super fucking expensive. Because
It was a massive loss.
they had like in the first like I think in the first like 5 minutes they have like a big animatronic plane crash into the stage and shit. They have like
What?
stage hands.
Yeah,
They
dude,
had
it's wild as fuck.
the part in the Another Brick in the Wall where the kids sing "We Don't Need No Education." They actually had the actual choir of all children there. It was like
What?
like 20 or 30 actual fucking children on stage singing just that part. So they had to like tour with that entire group of kids. They have all the stage hands building an actual physical brick
It's like
wall out of styrofoam.
150-foot wall. Yeah.
And then halfway through the show, they have a surrogate band playing for them that are miming the instruments in front of
Bro.
the wall while they are actually behind the wall playing the songs.
What?
It's extremely elaborate, and there's not of actual video recording of these shows, which honestly, if I had time travel powers, I would not go back and kill Hitler. I would not prevent 9/11. I would go back and watch those shows because that sounds like
so
the
tight.
best fucking live performances of all time.
Yeah, they crashed a plane into the stage.
Yeah, no, in the first like song where he's like basically introducing the album, and then there's that really loud plane crashing sound that like crashes into the next song. There's literally like a plane on like wires like flying towards the stage to that sound effect, and it like crashes into the stage, and there's like a big smoke effect and everything like that. This has all been described to me, so it's probably like it sounds more amazing than it might have
Some
been.
guy
But
that was on acid and just hallucinated most. He's playing a normal show.
I would like to
Right.
counter. I would like to counter your Pink Floyd crashing a plane into the stage with the Grateful Dead, the manager for the Grateful Dead riding a 13-foot long giant wooden blunt onto the stage at the 1978 closing of Winterland on December 31st live show, which is the live show that I've watched the most. It's just a really good live
That's
album.
awesome.
But yeah, Billy Graham, who like was their like tour booker, and like if you know anything about the Grateful Dead, you know like about Deadheads, and like their live tour was like the main thing they're known for, and most of the music that exists of them that people actually listen to who are into the Grateful Dead listen to live albums, not the studio albums. But yeah, there's literally a guy I think he's dressed up as either Santa. I think he's dressed up as Santa Claus, and he's on this gigantic wooden blunt that is floating above the audience onto the stage to start the show, because it also takes place right at midnight in 1978 on December 31st, so New Year's.
Yeah, it was a New Year's celebration show. So that sounds awesome.
That's funny you say about time travel and wanting to go to that Pink Floyd show, because I've also had that same thought of like, if I could travel through time, I would go to that show in San Francisco in 1978 and just like be there for that, because I've watched it so many times. It'd be so cool to see it live.
Well, at least you get to watch like a recording of it. For some reason, they never actually recorded any of these things with like a professional like live venue setup or anything like that. All that really exists is like basically whatever the home video like concept was at that time. Like, I'm sure not very advanced. You can sometimes find people recording certain bits of it, but yeah, there's not any way to really watch it, which is why I would highly recommend checking out the live album version of it, because at least you can kind of hear the audience's reaction to certain things.
It is,
and the
very
fact
funny.
that they add back in the keyboard stuff, because the keyboardist element of Pink Floyd is like, it's great.
They got Abraham Zapruder filming.
Yeah, pretty much. What were you gonna say, Peter?
I was gonna say, to me, it is very funny that they probably spent like equivalency of like $5 to $10 million on one concert, but like didn't bring a camera.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, maybe they couldn't afford it. Nah.
We spent all our money in crashing a plane.
Yeah,
We can't buy like just any recording equipment.
It's like that tweet from I think Drill. It's like I like the budget. Like I need someone who's good at economy to look at this. Help me, my family is starving. He spends $13,000 a month on candles.
I mean, the wall was definitely created out of a contempt for the audience, at least from Roger Waters' POV.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he didn't give a shit if anybody ever saw a recording of it. It was all done for his personal enjoyment. Those are the kind of artists that I always really like, even though they're assholes.
Yeah, I mean, he
I don't wanna
was
do
like
this for
very
you.
much an artist.
Yeah, 100%.
When we're talking, I think before we started recording, we're talking about like, all these artists in the 1970s were just constantly coked out and having sex with like 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd supposedly was like one of the very few bands that was just like very introverted, like
Mhm.
did not really party, didn't do drugs. They weren't doing like crazy shit in the green room. They
Yeah.
were just like very involved in just their work and what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They could be lying, but every interview I've ever seen with either David Gilmour or Roger Waters, they're always asked, obviously, like how much drugs were you on when you freaking came up with Dark Side of the Moon, bro? Like they're always just like, I don't know, we smoked weed like everybody else, but we weren't like going crazy. They were quite responsible for that era for sure, and that's always good to know that they were kind of relatively decent people as far as like getting into rock star trouble goes. Yeah, Gus, you should check out Animals.
I
The
second
HBO
that.
show, the HBO like animation.
No, the
show?
album. I would say like yeah, it's fair to say that The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon are theatrical because they are, but Animals is a lot less theatrical. It's a little bit more like background noisy. There are 5 songs on the entire album.
It's also like way more
Yeah.
political too.
Oh, way more political, but you wouldn't know it unless you were listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics are kind of optional to listen to, in my opinion, because the music is so front and center. There are like sections of each of these songs where there's no lyrics for like 10 or 15 minutes at a time, and then they'll come back randomly, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that there was lyrics in this song.
I don't know. I feel like
great.
the lyrics to Dogs are among my favorite lyrics to like
Oh, it's
almost
great.
any song.
Yeah, it's very clever, and also I'm
Super
just a big fan of
paranoid.
Animal Farm, which is clearly inspired by Animal Farm, the book, George Orwell. And I actually have a poster on my wall that I'm looking at right now of the smokestack from that factory with the little floating pig next to it.
The smokestack
just
from
rec-
what factory?
From whatever factory that is in Britain that they took a picture of for the album cover.
Battersea Power Station.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
should leave it off the top of my head. It's if you ever saw Children of Men, the big scene in that movie is actually shot
Yeah.
in the building.
That was like when I saw that movie, I was like, all right, this movie was growing on me already, but the Pink Floyd reference, this movie is already epic.
When Dane mentioned the smokestacks, I was just a little confused because right before the podcast, he kept trying to convince us that like the smokestacks that you see in a lot of like pictures of like concentration camps during World War II. Like,
Well, they don't have any shadows, which is interesting.
so sorry, I was a little confused, but I just linked the Grateful Dead live album or live performance that I was talking about, the closing of
Yeah.
Winterland in 1978. And there's also a funny bit at the beginning where
4 hours, holy shit.
yeah, it's so good, dude. Great to smoke marijuana too, but there's
Damn,
a
I
great
don't have
bit.
any.
What? Me neither.
know.
Coincidentally, just
I have some
CBD.
probably very expired edibles though.
Those are probably still good, dude. Go for it. But if you watch this, and by watch it I mean just like have it on and experience at least part of it, I will listen to Animals or watch Animals or whatever. However you.
No, I will
consumption.
genuinely check this out, but you should definitely listen to Animals. It's a lot less of a time commitment. It's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's like a normal length album.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll listen to it. There's another Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead has so many funny little like anecdotes. But there's one where like they did a benefit concert in like I want to say it was in somewhere in Oregon.
Hell yeah.
They did a
100%.
benefit. Some like friend of the band, some friend of a friend of the band owned a creamery, like a place where you could buy like natural yogurt or something like that. And they were like going out of business. So that friend of the friend like pulled a few strings and got the Grateful Dead to do a benefit concert for their creamery, for their like yogurt shop.
What?
In somewhere in Oregon. And you can listen to this whole live album. And they keep shouting out this like creamery during the whole performance, but also during that performance someone comes, like I think it was their manager Billy Graham, maybe, he who famously died by like a helicopter accident, and his dead body got tangled up in a electric pole, and they couldn't get his body down because it was too dangerous. They couldn't like touch the electric pole, so his dead body was just like strung up on a electricity pole for like a week before they could like shut it off and take his body down.
What?
And it was like right next to a highway somewhere.
That was a left turn.
Yeah, but that guy before his horrific death, I think he hops on the mic at that concert and he's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna make up the name because I don't remember, but he's like, "Hey, Ted, your child is waiting for you at childcare. Your child is waiting for you at childcare."
Is part of being the road manager for the Grateful Dead just telling people to stop talking in the audience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Why is there something happening?
Some of us would like to hear the show.
What, man?
Who? Literally who?
Yeah, literally. Not even Jerry Garcia. But watching or listening to a whole live album of the Grateful Dead is funny because they take like 20-minute breaks between. They'll play like 4 songs, and by that I mean like they'll play for like 40 minutes straight, and then they'll just take a 20-minute break and leave, and then come back.
No, hey. Everybody needs
What do you think they were doing on their break?
Oh, you know,
big poo poo.
Yeah, it's dropping a stinker off at the freaking station. I was gonna say something else about the G-Full D. Shout out to the Grateful Dead store. I think I've told this story before in the podcast. But there's a Grateful Dead store in Chicago, right near where I used to live on the north side, and it's just been there for like since like the 1970s or 80s, and all they do is sell tie-dyed shirts of the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers Band, and maybe like one other band, and like smoking utensils and stickers of the Grateful Dead. But the store in Chicago is called Amigos and Us, which is not a reference to any Grateful Dead song that I'm aware of. And it's just kind of a bizarre name, right? So I asked the owner, who's this like tall, gangly, like old ass hippie who's probably like 70 years old. I used to go to that shop a lot, and
you got all your tie-dye?
Yes, and I have a lot of tie-dye, none of which my wife likes. But I went into that store and asked him, I was like, "Hey, where did the name Amigos and Us come from?" And he was like, "Oh, well, it all started down in Guatemala." And he told this story about how he met these guys in Guatemala who wanted to open up a Grateful Dead store in Chicago. So he flew back to Chicago from Guatemala, started the store, called it Amigos and Us because, quote, because they were the amigos and we were like us. And then the guys from Guatemala never showed up in Chicago, so he just kept running the store by himself and never changed the name.
That's great.
What a guy, dude.
Yeah, what a guy.
It should be a Simon and Garfunkel store because it sounds like Darkness is kind of his old friend.
Hello, Guatemala, my old friend.
I gotta point out something. I scrolled down to the comments of this Grateful Dead concert that you linked.
Yeah,
and there's
the comments are so good.
There's a guy named Matthew Smith.
Yep.
And his comment says, "I was there inside Winterland from 3 p.m. until 7 a.m. New Year's Day. They fed us all a full breakfast. That evening, several of us visited Jerry Garcia in his hotel room by invitation for about 20 minutes, gushing about the show."
Yeah, that's a
pretty wholesome. That's a pretty wholesome comment, right? But then this is the guy's profile. That guy was a fucking full-on deadhead. Got invited backstage. That's fucking sick.
They just went back to selling freaking insurance.
Yeah, I love it.
That rocks.
That is what deadheads look like now.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a meme, at least a meme for me. And I was never really part of any Grateful Dead community, but I always would have fun reading through the comments of Grateful Dead live show videos on YouTube because they very frequently have like comments written by old guys who don't know how YouTube works, who just go on these long rambling stories of when they were at the show or like what they think about Jerry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anytime that you go to the comment section of any like older band, there's always a bunch of old people be like, the summer of ’63. This was the song that I lost my virginity to. And it's like the pictures of like some like 60-year-old like grandma. It's really funny.
Talking about the time she got double teamed at Woodstock.
Yeah. Good times.
You guys ever read about the 1990s Woodstocks where they had like Limp Bizkit and shit?
Yeah, I've heard that like what killed Woodstock was like a horrible like event in like '99 or something.
Yeah,
like,
I think
they
that's
just never had another one.
Yeah. It was like the 40th or 50th anniversary of whatever the original one was. Or maybe it was the 30th. But yeah, like multiple people died. Like shit was like set on fire. I think people were stabbed.
Yep.
Hey, could you
And
guys
then
keep it
I
down?
don't
I'm
think
trying
they
to
ever
listen
had
to this.
another one. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to listen to this, the closing of Winterland live in San Francisco, California.
No, we're actually giving you like
an
we're giving you like an accurate representation of what it would be like to be at the concert.
Frequent riots breaking out at Grateful Dead concerts.
There's
Mosh
one comment.
pit.
Mosh pit.
Well, no, I just mean like people talking next to you.
There's one comment on this video that just says, when you're 2 hours into the video, ... and you realize you have 2 hours more, peace sign emoji.
What is that implying?
That they're in it, dude.
They're in it, dude.
So pretty much, Dane, tell me something. Tell me something funny.
George W. Bush is stupid.
Got him. You freaking got him, dude. And on that note, theme song much?
I don't know the four. Is that like a segue out?